This is a program to help educate you on some of the issues that are vital to your understanding and way of life, and what can be done to improve it. Only when we get other views can we make intelligent choices regarding the decisions and options available to us for the enrichment and improvement of our lives. Good evening. Truman Sigler for Personalities in the News. This show is dedicated to the memory of John Castle, who started Personalities in the News in 1964 through 2003 on several local stations. The format of this program is educational in nature and based on the constitutions of the United States of America and the Republic of California. The program today is about where we are today and how we got there. This is number 2 in a series. This will be a condensed presentation, as the full story would take several days or possibly even weeks. For the last year, we have advised you of many of the issues in play and presented a process based on federal and state constitutional laws, demanding the servants in government do to bring them back to following the mandates of the constitutions as currently written, but unfortunately not followed. By using current federal law and constructive notice to all the actors that they violated their oath of office and the constitutional mandates governing their actions. The events that have happened this week are of grave importance to all of us. We must use this process now if this great country is to survive. Law enforcement people arresting people for exercising their rights. The hijacking of protesting people by criminal factions that looted, burned, and attacked innocent people's business after the marches. That was a war against the foundation and principles of this country, and it must be dealt with as an invasion. It is being condoned by the same political party under several different names for years and years and years to this date. The so-called pandemic coronavirus and the reaction of the servants in government and to the edicts and reactionary controls they placed on the people has brought the current situation to a violent outcome and must be stopped now. Our form of government will be completely gone and could lead to a civil war. We, the people, have the power and the means to effect a change and force you, servants, that we elected to manage this republic, that you took an oath to do so. We are not asking, we are demanding that you honor your oath and follow the Constitution. We only have the rights that we are willing to stand up for. Otherwise, we are only slaves. And I'm going to stand up for mine. I don't know about you. Now, I'm going to read something that is still part of the COVID-19. And it's from my mentor, I'll call him. He might not know that, but he's mentoring me. This is from John Rappaport. It's called COVID-19 and Riots, the Operational Connections. Protesting against lockdowns were expanding. The public health measures, that's distancing, isolation, masks, were being attacked from all sides as unnecessary, useless, overbearing, and unscientific. Many mainstream researchers, doctors, and even public health officials were exposing the fact that the pandemic was no pandemic at all. The adjusted case and death numbers didn't warrant excessive concern. It was becoming obvious that the players setting the COVID agenda were there simply because they had been appointed to high posts, not because they were perceptive or honest scientists. In other words, COVID was political. On top of all this, economies were beginning to reopen. For the public, that was the main focus, not the threat of catching a disease. There was a great need for an operational shift. How and why didn't particularly matter, as long as the populace was riveted by some new catastrophe. The shift would also stall the economic engine again. After all, stepping away from the mountain of lies about COVID, the core of the center of it was an economic attack. And now it has been done. All across America, riots, burning, looting, violence, race conflict, and curfews. A new reason for a different form of lockdown. The daily protests in the streets overtake and replace the former protests against the COVID lockdown. One operation covers the other one. The television news producers wipe all the COVID coverage off to one side of the screen and bringing riot coverage in from other side of the street or screen. It's exactly like theoretical scene shifts on stage between Act 1 and Act 2 of a play. As the crew rapidly moves the flats and props while the curtain is down. Elite global planners like Bill Gates obviously think this is their moment. Under the pretext of COVID story they've created, they want to instill the next phase of their technocratic brave new world, in their opinion. Planetary surveillance at a level that supersedes the present system. Deploying thousands of new satellites is the leading edge of this phase. We must do it in order to mount an early warning system for new pandemics. Kicking technology into a higher gear requires sustaining the COVID fairy tale, since that tale was falling apart. Hide it under the storm of George Floyd, riots and protests sweeping across America. Covering one operation with another is standard business in the covert ops field. The 9/11 attacks in 2001 were, as planned, followed by justified wars against Afghanistan and Iraq. That's where the terrorists have their bases. Among other purposes, the wars cemented in place the false 9/11 narrative and guaranteed that narrative a place in history. Among other purposes, the Great Depression of the 1930s covered and buried the planned 1929 crash of the stock market. Consider this fictional illustration. In an area of forest 30 miles from town, people discover a large patch of dead trees. Some have fallen over. Others, leafless and gray, are still standing. At first, no one takes action. Then it's obvious the patch is growing larger. More trees are falling down. More branches and leaves are drying up and dropping on the ground. This is an event operation. It needs a second operation to cover it. And here it is. Fictional, of course. Maybe. The town newspaper, aided by the pronouncements from local officials, runs a story about a fire. There was a fire in that part of the forest. It was severe and hot, its effects are still being felt. Now, people are arguing about the cause of the fire. It was a lightning hit. Someone set it ablaze, using flammable liquid that burned at an exceptionally high temperature. Drug dealers fought with one another and burned up the drugs. Actually, 6 months ago, a town firm that secretly sells a dangerous and illegal pesticide, believing they were about to get caught or busted, sent employees with drums of the poison into the forest to dump them. That's what happened. That was the first operation. The second op, the fire story, here now is so ingrained in the minds of people, few people will consider that there was no fire. There had to be a fire. And just to make sure, agents of the pesticide company now set a few fires in the surrounding area of the mountains. The town paper runs a story. Who is setting all these fires? One operation covers another. There are different variations of this central theme. Sometimes the second op is laid on to justify or explain the first one. Sometimes the second op simply smothers the first one. Regardless, covers work. They're used. They grab attention, cause fear, shift focus away from an op that is running out of steam or is about to be exposed. In the middle of a city, a great edifice stands. Took 100 years to build. Every day, when citizens pass by it, they salute. They leave offerings. They even kneel and pray. It's clearly understood that this magnificent structure will last forever. But one day, people will notice that the wall is beginning to crumble. Stones have been falling out. There are holes. And when people peer in, they see empty, dusty rooms and smell acrid odors. The news must be spread to the populace. But suddenly, out of nowhere, a mob appears. They're carrying torches and setting fire to other structures. Run, hide. This is a terrible threat. This is a true crisis, not the 100 years of deception. Consider that, people. Consider about what's going on. Listen to all of what they're telling you and how it came about. Now, we have the means to force a change on the people, the servants we elected to manage this republic. You took an oath to do so. We're not asking, we're demanding that you honor your oath and follow the constitutions. We only have the rights that we are willing to stand up for, otherwise we are only slaves. Now, you may call in at 559-721-2822, Talk Radio, KXEX 1550 AM, with your questions and comments. And I think it's about time for a first break. If we could do one a little bit early. Could we run a little early? My voice is getting raspy. And we'll have a break, and I'll turn it over to Steve. And we shall return shortly, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, John Rappaport seems to hit things right on the head.
Yes, he does. That's why I call him my mentor.
Well, hopefully people are waking up. I mean, it's just, to me, it's so obvious. You look around, and this thing was engineered.
Of course it was.
The COVID. And even the violence. We'll talk more about that, but,
Well, there were several things on that video I sent you. Controversial, of course, depending upon who's looking at it and who's reading it and put their spin on it. It's unfortunate that it was in Arabic on the title and the lead into it. That's why we didn't really look into it when it first came out. And somebody called me and told me about that. So I immediately opened it up, and they were right. The lead in was in Arabic. The subtitles were in English, and the person presenting shots of the information or the book, whatever he was reading from, were in English. But I couldn't put it, print it out or anything like that, so I just have to discuss it from that standpoint. If you want to know what it is, contact us and we'll let you know. We'll send the address, and you can look and see for yourself. It's very controversial, but it's also, in my opinion, very true. Steve?
Yeah, absolutely. I think people need to start looking. Of course, if they're listening to this channel, they're doing that. The problem is the mainstream media, and they are misleading everyone, creating panic. And they should be held accountable for that. I mean, just because you have a free media doesn't mean they have license to lie and to foment violence.
That is true. Okay, there it is. Just had to get myself oriented to my written script here so I can follow it when we're over the break. But I'm going to let you carry most of it from here until my voice comes partially back.
All right, I'll carry it for 2 minutes for you.
And we're going to be going back on the air here shortly. Yeah, it's going to be nice to have, it is nice to have Sue Ann back online again. And the fact that she's going to get Skype, so we'll be, or whatever we're using. what it is or have heard of it. The Russia hoax, the impeachment of Trump, the pandemic pattern and the illusion is built, the media bias, and the use of police processes on non-commercial contexts. Steve, take it away.
Yes, well, you cut out a little bit there on me, but got some good comments coming in here from Facebook, which I'll get to in a little bit. We're in a weird time here. I mean, there's a lot of you listening that have been around for a long time, and they basically turned our country into a police state in just a matter of days. And there's evidence that Truman and others have looked at, and we're investigating that as well, that this has been planned for a long time. And it's, we can't really verify that information, but certainly this plan seems to be ridiculous. When you listen to the quotes and listen to what people said, one of the things that came to mind was the British labeled the COVID-19 as a very dangerous disease, but then they recanted that way back in March.
Well, that was because they were relying on that one guy back there that was telling them what it was, what I understand.
Which guy was it, Fauci?
No. I forget what his name is.
And Germany's got they're backtracking now, apparently. There was a report that somehow somebody leaked from the German government, a report that challenges the coronavirus narrative. And it shows the COVID-19 was overestimated. Probably at no point did the danger posed by the new virus go beyond any normal level that we normally see. This was in the German report. And the people who die from corona are essentially those who would have statistically died that year anyway, because they were reaching the end of their lives. And that's true. We have a lot of people die every year. I mean, I think if they could take, cancer. Over 600,000 people die from that. If we did that like some kind of sports show, we'd be very afraid. Or if we did just the regular flu and did it like they're doing the COVID thing, people would be very frightened. But you just gotta look behind and beyond what they're telling you, and look around and use a little bit of your mind, because we have way too much trust in government here, and I don't think it's deserved. The more that we look at this situation with the COVID, the more I'm convinced that you cannot trust. If a elected official's lips are moving, they're probably lying. Most of them, anyway. And in California, I'm in California, so I might be a little biased. I mean, not all states are as bad as California. Some are worse, maybe like Michigan, on this COVID thing. But the governor of California believes he owns the people here. He can tell them to do whatever they want, and most of them are listening, which is kind of concerning to me. He has no authority to order people around under any circumstance. The emergency powers themselves that the government's using in every state, it allows the governor to set aside statutes, which are passed by the state legislature. They can bypass and avoid regulations, rules, these kind of things. But nowhere does it say that the Constitution is set aside in an emergency. Even the Constitution itself does not allow you to set aside the Constitution, even in an event of war. I mean, that's how strong the founders believed in this. I mean, if you could set this aside, the Constitution here, for any number of crises, we don't really have any rights, as you said. And people have got to start standing up. I hope the businesses are also rethinking this whole situation of licensing, because the governor of Illinois said it probably the best. He said, if you have a license in my state, you better listen to what I say. In other words, he's blackmailing the people with businesses licenses. But the license and the agreements on those licenses does not allow him to, you're not turning your life over to him. So he's doing what I'm considering is extortion, not anything lawful. But still, you pay your taxes, you pay your licensing fees, and then they say you can't open. Well, that's a bad thing. And they're going to charge you, that come along with property tax as well for your business in the area for another 2 months. Well, they shouldn't get a dime for that 2 months if they're the ones closing you down. So we have to look at the Constitution. To me, it's the Constitution is the main avenue back, and that's what our constructive notice is all about. more and more businesses, I think, are filing the constructive notice. You'll find that on freeenterprisesociety.com. It is something you can send to your mayor, you can send to the governor, anybody, the county health department, if you want to, anybody you're having trouble with. It says, I know my rights. I'm not waiving any of them. I'm volunteering for nothing. And if you, affect any of my rights, I'm going to sue you on a personal level. And a lot of people don't understand that. A personal level is important to understand. If you go after the governor and you say, the guy's named the governor of California, Governor Newsom, that's official capacity. And then when you do that, the state can come forward with taxpayer dollars, state attorneys, and whatever horsepower they want to defend that guy. Now, if you sue him personally, that's not supposed to happen. Governor Newsom would have to pay out of his pocket for another attorney. The state attorneys cannot represent him. That changes the whole ballgame. Doesn't it, Truman?
That sure does. I know that from personal experience. Because when the people that I sued were state actors, and when they got their notice, and I got the receipt that they got the notice, they went right to the Attorney General of California and said, you have to represent me. I'm immune. That's why I work for you. Governor said, sorry about that. They didn't sue us. They sued you. And when they went out to get some private representation, they found out that it would have cost them, this was almost 20 years ago, $10,000 to have an attorney write an objection to the lawsuit. None of them answered the complaint. So I won by default. The same thing should happen if you do the same thing. Because it's expensive to go into federal court. It takes a little bit of effort and a lot of getting used to the trappings because it's very intimidating. But you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm just a mechanic. Steve?
Yeah, well, we just have to start. The people that are concerned about our freedoms, and there should be a lot of them by now, you can use this constructive notice. It's free. You can download it for free off of freeenterprisesociety.com on our website, freeenterprisesociety, that's all one word, .com. Download it for free. Put your governor's name on there or the mayor if you're in a city that's giving you trouble, and get it off. Everybody's not going to have to sue. A lot of people are intimidated probably because of the lawsuit behind, but the lawsuit, you don't even necessarily need an attorney for the lawsuit. And we're going to have some help there maybe with some paralegals. So the thing is, once we win a few, or, there are enough people that I've talked to several people interested in going all the way with the lawsuit against these people in California. And I think we're going to get some interest outside. There's a lot of downloads happening on that document. And some people reported they're getting warnings coming up that it may be virus infected. There isn't, but I'm going to try to change maybe the download package to get rid of that warning. But I don't see it on my webs or my browsers myself. So that's there isn't anything attached in there. That's it's very, very helpful. I think the people that use it, for a lot of them, just giving them that notice will get some of these people off your back, I think.
Well, Steve, while you're on that topic, I have one of my customers has a high-end women's shop up in the north part of Fresno, and he's a regular customer, been with them for quite some time, but he follows all the rules and regulations. Well, they deemed his business non-essential. And so they closed him down, or he closed himself down voluntarily. I don't think they've really forced anybody to close down. But he, being a good guy, followed the law. And when they opened back up, the city came around to hand him the brochure of no signs to put up that you have to have a mask on to enter the place and yada, yada. And he told them he wasn't going to comply with that because he never has that many people in there and he doesn't believe in it anyway. And they said, well, you have to do it. And he said, well, the only thing I have to do is tell you to get out. And they left. But they came back. Now, I don't know if they had reinforcements or not, but they tried to trap him into complying. They didn't mention the business license. And he told them, he says, as I told you, I'm not going to comply. And he says, if you keep harassing me here right now, I will sue you personally. Now, I gave him a copy of the constructive notice about a week or so ago. I think he must have read it because he used the terms. and they have left, and they haven't been back. That doesn't mean they won't come back, but he's ready and able. Also, Sue Ann is back online now. That's our paralegal. She came to town Friday, or no, Thursday, yesterday, and went to go into some buildings, and they told her she had to have a mask. She said, I'm not going to wear a mask. Well, they threatened her and got onto her and everything like that. Well, that was a good thing, because now her ire is up. She says, I'm going to sue these guys, because I helped you write this constructive notice. She's also going to do a kind of a generic lawsuit for people that are using this generic constructive notice. And that's a good thing, because we were going to do it anyway. So now she has the impetuous, and she's going to get it done. So that will also be available to people that have acquired the constructive notice. And it's something that will make it a lot easier for you to do. Steve?
Yeah, I just want to make just one line out of these cases. I don't want to cover all these again, but the 1982 Doyle versus Wilson, any person who found violating the rights of a citizen may be subject to the damage sustained by the individual and the cost of the action together with the attorney fees. And they shall be subject personally and may be subject to fines up to $10,000 and imprisonment not more and up to 10 years. This is a civil action, but they could spend time in jail. And let me tell you, these businesses, like you mentioned, that shop closed down for 2 months by an order from the mayor of Fresno, I assume, or I don't know if he's in Fresno city limits, or the governor. I think the damages sustained are amazing. One hairdresser in New York, after 2 months, he was over $1 million in debt. He had more than one salon, but that's ridiculous. And when the government has no authority to do this. Now, you know, they say they do in the emergency powers, but I think this is going to work its way up to the Supreme Court. And a lot of this will get undone. A lot of these people hopefully will be in trouble, because not only should the governor of the California, Governor Newsom, lose his job, he should go to jail, in my opinion. He hurt people irrevocably. I mean, there are people that are never going to come back from this. They lost their business. They lost everything from these orders, and they're all based on the COVID situation, which was false. And of course, it may have been well-meaning, maybe, but I don't care, because he hurt people without reason. It should be up to the business. Just like you said, you say the guy did it voluntarily, and in a sense he did, because, you know, just like me giving him an order to close your business down, if he did so, he's doing it voluntarily, because I have no authority over him. Neither does the governor. He thinks he does with emergency powers, but it does not take constitutional rights away from you. So I don't want these people to get away with this. I'm going to continue on this route of getting these people accountable, because if we don't, they're going to do this to us every year, every 6 months. I don't know, anytime they want, because they believe that we have no rights at this point.
Well, I saw it come across on the internet. I didn't copy it out or anything, but I did read it. It was a guy from one of the states back in the in the Midwest. I think it was Illinois, but I'm not sure. And he made the statement, I think you referred to that one, that if you have a license, you better listen to me, and so forth and so on. But he mentioned in his response to whoever wrote him that letter that the 10th Amendment gave him the authority after the president said, you have to take care of your own state. Well, I looked up the 10th Amendment, and it's a very simple amendment. There's not too many words in it. Nowhere does it say in that amendment that he can void out the Constitution or anybody's rights. It just says that everything goes back to the people or the states. We are coming up on a break, so Steve will carry on with this conversation while they're playing the ads. Mr. Engineer, take it away. My stupid COPD and really giving me a headache or a throat ache, whichever you want to call it. Difficult. Steve, got something to comment?
Well, I'm trying to get.
Okay, while you're doing that, I just want to let the people know that we are still those that are viewing us, we are still here able to talk, and you're able to call in. Now would be a good time, or preferably when we get back on the air. And this is just for you people on social media. You get to watch us, and we don't really get to take a break. Steve?
Yeah, we got some comments here. Got a person, Mike, there is from Michigan, says hello. And he had some other comments here. He shows that there was 100,000 businesses. Let's see, here it is. 100,000 small businesses since the shutdown here in Michigan. They lost them. I was in Merced, California today, and the Best Buy there was closed. I mean, the big corporations are going to survive, I suppose, but that store was permanently closed. Signs gone, everything. So, and a lot of small restaurants and things that I probably like to go to are, we don't know if they're going to open up again.
Yeah. Also, we've got a comment from, you might want to call it our boss, Guillermo Moreno. He also has a weekly or daily talk show on this station, and he called in and said, right on. Thanks, Guillermo.
Well, that's how they do it. Lies cover the lies. I mean, you mentioned it. And a lot of people, they're just, one thing maybe good about the pandemic and the shutdown is that people have more time to think. Because most of the time they're busy. They're working 10, 12 hours a day, don't have any time to do anything. They don't want to be bothered by politics and all this stuff that's going on. So, but we got to start thinking about these things and not letting them do this. I mean, the next time they want to order these businesses to do something, the businesses need to stand up. And I think, I just don't see why a lot of these businesses, a license is.
Steve, we're going live.
Okay.
Thank you. Welcome back to Personalities in the News, and I'm Truman Sigler, and we're going to go into more of our topics for today because they are very important for you and for everybody in the country. Call in to Talk Radio 1550 AM, that's KXEX, 559-721-2822, and we would like to take your question over the air if you so choose to do, and just call in, and I may have to have Steve answer it because my voice is going away again. So, Steve, carry on with our list of topics for the day. Any of them that you want to do.
Okay. Well, there's one more comment. I'm looking at comments here. One of them is, there's only one person that will, this is from Michael from Michigan again, there's only one person that will lead the whole world, that is the King of Kings. He's talking about Jesus Christ and the Christian God. And I want to say, that, this is a Christian nation. It's all over it's in the Constitution. It's in the Declaration of Independence. It's all over. If you've ever been to Washington, D.C. and would go to the Lincoln Monument or anything else and read what's on those walls, at least for me, it brings me to tears, how beautiful that stuff is. And the sadness of seeing those people that are elected just in the building down the street have never come here and never read this stuff and don't care about it, most of them, it seems like. If you're a different religion, that's fine. You're welcome here, but you can't come here and change our religion. They took the church out of the schools, and things have started to turn bad right away from that, in my opinion. No Pledge of Allegiance. People don't know why. I mean, I've talked to kids, and they don't even know how many states in the union. They don't know how many senators we have in each state or in the country. They know nothing about civics. I apparently don't teach it anymore.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's why John quit teaching when he was at Washington Union High School. They told him he could not teach the Constitution as it was written, that he had to use their version. And he told them to take their version and put it where the sun didn't shine. And he got out, and then he went on the radio, starting in 1964 with Personalities in the News. And I was guest host for about 10 years. Enjoyed it and learned a lot from him because he knew his stuff on government and the Constitution. And that's what's wrong.
It is. Now, you mentioned Agenda 21, and this is all part of it. This is a fake pandemic for anybody that is paying attention has to know that. And there are a lot of people that are, buying it hook, line, and sinker. I understand that, but there's also a lack of critical thinking. But the people that are critically thinking say this does not make any sense. And but it does make sense from a standpoint of Agenda 21 is because they want to dissolve the bounds and the borders of countries. They want to bring the United States down. They want everything to be equal in the world. They call it social equity, social justice, things like that. Those are very loaded words.
Or as the Bushes put it, the one world order.
Yeah, social justice is injustice. Social distance, I don't even like the word social distancing. I don't like the word social anymore because of that. But social equity here, it's defined by these people in the Agenda 21. This was a UN project that started quite some time ago, and they want to complete it by the year 2030 in 10 years. Social justice is described as the right and opportunity of all people to benefit from the resources of the society. In order to do that, we have to redistribute wealth. Private property is a social injustice, so no one can own property. National sovereignty is also a social injustice. All nations have to dissolve. Universal health care is a social injustice.
That's it.
I mean, it is. For me, I would look at this and say this is just insane. But these are people; they're very dangerous people, and Americans kind of take their freedoms and our standard of living for granted. But there are countries in the world where people, you can't go by a day without something blowing up in your town or some war or somebody being shot or arrested for no reason. And, the rest of the world is not quite the same as it is here. Economic prosperity. This is what they call the public-private partnerships. They want to, and you see this at the county level. They're going to the county board of supervisors. If you guys don't go to the meetings, you can find this out. They're taking out Robert's Rules of Order where you actually have some input and making everything run by committee. So they appoint a committee, and then the county board of supervisors, well, I have no control over that. I have no power over this committee. If the committee says you lose your property, well, that's all there is to it. These committees run everything. When I went to school, they taught me that the reason that America is so great is because of our individual freedom. And unlike a country like Russia, which is run by committee. I don't know if you remember anything like that, Truman, but...
Oh, yeah. When I was in high school, I had to write a term paper. I was in my civics class. This was in 1952. And
these are unelected.
That's right. And I wrote a term paper, not on our government. I wrote it on communism. I wanted to know what that was, so I had to study it. And that's what's led me down the path of reinforcing our form of government. It's the best that there is.
The progressive movement, the woke crowd, if you want to use that, are nothing but communists and Marxist. They don't know it. The kids kind of embrace it. I don't know why. Because their Mercedes and their $1,000 cell phone won't be there once we accomplish this Agenda 21. We will live. They want to pack people in tighter than New York City is because they want to preserve all the green out here.
I think they want the green to be in their pockets.
Well, it's really quite sickening. But anyway, they're attacking at the county levels, and these committees are set up. And even the county board of supervisors won't do anything about them. And we've got to get the county board of supervisors absolutely could do something. They can throw these committees out on their ear. I mean, done. Because they come in and they talk to newly elected officials in the counties and the states and tell them about all this great stuff we're doing. And this is how things are done. And you need to do all the things we're telling you to do. Now, this is absolutely not. We elected you to do things that you know that you need to do. And that's treat the people right. Trump is one of those guys that doesn't, he's just not dealing with this. He's not buying into that. He comes in and I think he really does care about the people. I think he's made some mistakes, but I don't think he's a strict constitutionalist. But I think he does really love this country, and he's doing things that benefit the people. He's really upset, even on this bill, which I'm not real crazy about the bill that they did, but he wanted that bill to go to people.
Right. Well, I'm going to punch the button here. We have a caller coming in. And I'm going to put this person on. Good afternoon, Truman here, and you are live. Do you have a question for either Steve or myself?
Oh no, I was just I was listening to you guys there, and you're talking about property and stuff. I've been pretty busy for the last couple of weeks. I'm putting together a Zoom meeting with my city council, my county board members, Illinois Sheriff's Association, couple of attorneys that have taken the lawsuits here for taking the governor to challenge on his executive orders and stuff. And I was listening to you guys about property, and it's something that people could read that really will put them in perspective of what our country was supposed to be about is the Samuel Adams Rights of the Colonists. And one of the first things that he talks about is the natural rights of the colonists as men. And it's among the natural rights of the colonists, first, right to life, second, to liberty, third, to property, and together with the right to support and defend them in the best manner they can. These are evident branches of, rather than deductions from, the duty of self-preservation, commonly called the first law of nature. Now, that is the true intent of what this country was founded on. And when I do this meeting with my city council and my county board members and everybody, this is what we're going to focus on, is getting this country back to its true intent. And that's the only way we're going to be able to survive.
That's true. This sounds like Steve from Illinois.
Yep.
I kind of missed you the last couple of weeks here. Now you told me why. Good man.
Well, yep. I've been on the phone. Yesterday I was on the phone for 6 hours. I was on the phone for about 3 hours after I got home, all during the week. Last weekend I was on the phone. I've been really busy trying to get this thing put together, and I hope it comes through okay.
Okay, I got one little thing here. I've been looking on the screen. Our boss man, Guillermo, says, "Hello, Steve."
Who's that?
Guillermo Moreno. He's our boss man.
Hey! Yes, love that guy.
Okay, Steve, what do you think about the Russia hoax and the impeachment of the president? Doesn't that sound like a continuation and furthering the Agenda 21 to get this guy who's upsetting their apple cart out of office?
Well, that's what all this is all about, because Agenda 21's got to be fulfilled by the end of this year. That's why it's called Agenda 21. It's the agenda to have this implemented by 2021 so they can follow up with Agenda 2030. So all this stuff that's going on here it's all rigged up. They're pushing this new world order. I mean, look at this coronavirus. Everything that we've done in our lives has came to a complete stop, all because the World Health Organization claimed a global crisis. That's all you ever heard. And everything that we do now has been stopped, and they're saying this is going to be the new normal. The viruses, how we're going to approach the viruses with these masks and quarantines, and it's all part of the Agenda 21. We can't even get our businesses open here. I'm involved in stock car racing. They will not allow us to do stock car racing here. And that is because they want to get rid of all the oil, outdoor activities, anything to do with cars and trucks because of climate change. All of a sudden, climate change is gone now, ain't it?
Yes.
It's all Agenda 21. And they're pushing it down our throats because we're getting to the end of that timeline.
Right. Steve, the music is in my ears. I don't know if you're hearing it or not. Well, both
yes,
Steves. So we're going to have to leave, and I've got another caller on the line. So, Mr. Engineer, take it away for our other break. And good luck, Steve. Thank you.
Yeah, well,
Have we got one holding? Have we got a caller holding? Have we got a caller holding? No, that was Steve. Oh, okay. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I want to get back to more of the UN Agenda 21 when we come back, but these comments are pretty good we're having on Facebook. They talking about the New World Order. We're living through one of the world government agendas right now. I mean, this is, for me, looks like they're attempting a real takeover of this country. And the other things that I see they're really pushing for is mail-in voting nationwide, as well as getting rid of the Electoral College. So there's growing support among people that aren't paying attention, because I consider they call themselves Democrats or liberals, but I call them communists or Marxists. And that the whole progressive movement is very dangerous, and they're they're on the wrong side of the fence when it comes to the Constitution. The freedom we have here in this country, I believe, is a threat, obviously a threat to Agenda 21, because it will never fit. People that actually decide for themselves what they're going to do and where they're going to live, well, that just can't happen, according to these people. And it's really quite sickening. We'll cover some more of that maybe when we come back. But the people here that are in this country have everything. The law's on your side every way that we look at it. We had more than one war protecting our Constitution. Revolutionary War, and England came in, later, the 1812, and tried to take us back again. And the people stood up. And right now, it's hard to get people to write a letter.
That's true.
And because people are becoming so scared of government. Well, we got to get over that, because they work for us. They really do. And there are people that will stand with you. You're not going to be alone. We have to, talk to our neighbors. One of the things they always say, don't talk religion and politics with your friends and neighbors. Well, who came up with that saying?
The people that don't want to be
City Hall or somebody.
City Hall, right? The people that say you can't beat government. Well, I say different than that, because of my experience that I've done. It's work. It's frustrating. We got 20 seconds to go here, so we'll be back on the air momentarily. Welcome back to Personalities in the News. For our final segment of the evening, we'll have probably about 6 or 7 minutes, maybe a little more, and the engineer will start the music at 30 seconds before I have to read the closeout. So, Steve, carry on with the talking points.
We'll come back to Agenda 21 a little bit. They talk about sustainable development, and it's anything but sustainable. I don't like the word. If you hear sustainable, or sustainability, a lot of times these are not what they appear to be. They use words that sound good, even like liberal. Liberal sounds like a good thing. If you're going to get a banana split, you want to just throw everything on there, be real liberal, And, of course, conservative would just want one peanut on there and, half a cherry. But what we want to do, progressive sounds like good thing, progress. We're making progress in all kinds of things, including race. We have overcome so much in race. To see it all destroyed by the media and, even President Obama, I thought might help that situation, but he did not. But let's talk about what is not sustainable. If they get control of this country and the rest of the world, ski runs are not sustainable, so they will be gone. Grazing of livestock, out. Plowing of soil, bad. Building fences, industry, single-family homes is considered even racist by these people. If you watch what they're saying, it's racist, because so other people are living in poverty, they say. But even our poor people in this country, anyway, many of them live in a home. They have heat and air conditioning. They have hot and cold running water. Middle class in some countries don't even have that. What else? Paved roads. Well, that's out. Can't have that. Logging activities, gone. Dams and reservoirs have to be torn down. Power line construction stopped. Economic systems that fail to set proper value on the environment. Every decision under Agenda 21 was made with the environment, with fake environmental things. And, of course, logging has been stopped in Northern California almost completely because of the spotted owl being endangered. But they're around Miami and Central California. They're all over the place. I mean, it was just a lie. Then we don't have logging here, but they had it up north, but now it's gone. They want to turn everything over to a committee. Once Agenda 21 is in place, it'll be like the European Union. European Union was run by another government, not elected by England, not elected by France. The EU was a separate government. I don't know how they got into position. That's why England they voted to get out of it. They have no control over taxes. They have no control over laws. When the EU sent them a bill, they have to pass it. And so that's what we'll be looking at here under Agenda 21. There, we won't have a representative government, and we won't have the freedom and standard of living that we know now. And there's lots of room on the world for this. With our farming techniques and stuff, people don't have to go hungry. You know, I calculated this, and I thought it was wrong, but once I saw a report that every man, woman, and child in the country could live in Texas, could fit in Texas with more than 1,000 square feet for each person. That sounded ridiculous. But I calculated it up with 7 billion people, and sure enough, it works. I mean, you couldn't all live there because there'd be no place to farm. But the point is, the world is a lot bigger than people think it is. And the United States physically is much smaller than a lot of people think. A lot of people think we can invite everybody in the world over here. And we're like a pea up against a watermelon as far as the population goes. And but they can't all come here. But our ethics, our freedom, our capitalist system, if they want it, can go anywhere. You know, Hong Kong did it, and they were happy till China's starting to take them back. But
yeah, I was watching on the news. Well, not the news last night. It was on the BBC was making a broadcast or a special on the opening up of South Korea, and what the people there had to say about coming out of the lockdown and what effect it had on them. And because they're not free like we are here. They're close, but they're not free like we are here. And to me, it was heart-wrenching listening to these people. Well, they came back in and they went back to their old job, but nobody wanted to talk to them because they knew what their thoughts were and so forth and so on. And it was just, that's what we're looking at if we don't keep these people in check. And it's up to us. We're going to get the government we deserve. So people step up to the plate. Use these constructive notice. Go after these people. Let them know that they're not immune, because the immune statute and federal Supreme Court laws or statutes. I'll get it out. Reasoning on that is in that constructive notice, and they are not immune. The cops are doing the same thing. They want the government to come in and claim immunity. Well, I think the cops should quit acting as policemen for the civil end of our law system and coming down on people for non-criminal actions. And that takes training. And sadly, I don't think they're getting it. I'm all for the police. We need them. Can you imagine a country without police like they're advocating from the Democrat side? They're nuts. Steve?
Well, in the big cities, it's ridiculous. I mean, in the rural areas, they probably, I live in a rural area with just a sheriff's department, and you just hardly ever see the guys. There just isn't a lot going on here. People don't even hardly lock their doors around here. But in the cities, you have to do that. And but we had another comment on Facebook here from Binky. Mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is something that's going on behind the scenes pretty much. With all this stuff happening, we don't see all the stuff the Democrats, progressive communists are doing. But one of the things they're doing is trying to make mail-in voting like California nationwide. And Binky wrote in, mail-in voting is so everyone, citizens or not, can vote. I think he's absolutely correct. In California, if you get a driver's license, they register to vote automatically as a Democrat, it seems like. And now you're going to get a mail-out voting whether you're a citizen or not. And that's a felony. If they vote in a federal election, I think that's a felony every time they do it. But nobody here is going to enforce it in California. But that's one of the things they're doing. The other thing they're doing, I think, with the riots and stuff that's going on behind the scenes is to get rid of the Electoral College. I can't tell you how genius I think the founders were by a couple of things. One is the Senate having senators appointed by a different method of election than the House of Representatives. We did away with that too, which was stupid.
That was the
That was
17th Amendment.
genius.
Yeah.
17th Amendment. That was genius. And the other thing is the Electoral College. A state like California, I mean, I don't think they necessarily envisioned it, but a state like California with over 10% of the population of a nation would control everything. And believe me, the people out here, they are not what I was raised in Ohio on a farm, and they don't think the same out here in California where I'm at now. most of them. There's a lot of smart people out here, don't get me wrong, but the people in the big cities, they just don't get it. They think guns. A lot of them, they think guns sneak out of your house at night and kill people without you knowing about it. I mean, to outlaw guns is stupid, and other things that they're doing here in California are they defy any logic whatsoever. But they have the Democrats have a supermajority everywhere; they can vote anything they want, and they're trying to legalize pedophilia and do other things here. You got to watch out if you're not in California, even because what California does sometimes travels to other places.
Well, I know where it needs to travel to, and I can't say it on the air, but that's where it needs to travel to. And that's up to you people listening, watching, and paying attention to what's going on. We will, through all the people that are here in this country, get the government we deserve. Only if we stand up to these tyrannical people that are doing things now.
They're totally tyrants. Now, California is talking about seceding from the Union because they have the values aren't the same as it were in the Constitution. Well, I'm actually almost in favor of that, except I want to escape first. What would be a better solution is the two-state plan here in California to separate into two states and put San Francisco and Los Angeles and maybe Sacramento in their own state and everybody else out, the real working people out in their own state, and they wouldn't have us to walk on anymore here. So,
well, there's lots to say on that. Wish we had some people calling in with comments. Have you got any comments on the social that have come in on that vein?
Well, I see one comment here from Edward. It began with Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society. I think he's got there's a guy paying attention to things. I mean, these things start to get people thinking. Even the abolish the police they're throwing this idea out. It's not going to go very far this year, but they keep doing it. It grows on people just because they're not paying attention or they get tired of it. The average person, when you tell them you push them and you not push them, but you get in their face enough, pretty soon they just give up. Oh, do whatever you want. Get out of my face.
Yeah. I'd like to read.
Stand up for.
Go ahead, Steve.
Instead of stand up and defend it, you can't let them do these kind of things.
I'd like to read something here by a Nobel Prize-winning scientist. He explains damage done by lockdowns, and he says Stanford School of Medicine professor Michael Levitt, who won the 2013 Nobel Peace Prize in Chemistry, says the strict lockdown measures imposed to combat the coronavirus pandemic may have cost more lives than they saved. I think lockdowns saved no lives, he said on Saturday. The Telegraph reported. I think it may have cost lives. It will have saved a few road accidents, things like that, but social damage, domestic abuse, divorces, alcoholism has been extreme. And then you have those who were not treated for other conditions, he explained. He correctly predicted the scale of the pandemic, which most models, such as those the widely publicized from the Imperial College, grossly overestimated those overestimations. Resulted in unnecessary panic, he said, and it goes on for about another four pages, but he hit the nail right on the head. Ladies and gentlemen, our time is up for the day. Thanks you for calling in and your remarks. If you like our format and topics, let us know and tell others. Our time is up for this evening. Thanks to the hosts for their views and opinions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Tune in next week, same time and new stations. Talk Radio KXEX, 1550 AM, and TV channel 32.3. Truman Sigler and Steve Hempling for Personalities in the News. Good night.
Tune in next week.
Well, I made it.
Well, it was a good program. We had a lot of comments
Oh,
today.
yeah.
Last week, I just don't know. It's like it wasn't going out, but I know it was. I was looking at it. So,
Yeah, and I watched it when I got home. Other than a few minor glitches, I thought that the program was well done. And that's because we have a lot of people that are paying attention to things and starting to get involved, and you're seeing more and more of it as we goes on from day to day.
well, we need to. I thought we need to put the phone number out more often. And one person wanted to call in, but didn't have the number. So
Oh, well, I put it out several times. I guess that wasn't enough.
I know. Do it more. That's all.
Okay,
More.
more. I agree.
All right, we'll see you guys.
I'm going to pick up my papers and I'll give you a call maybe tonight, maybe not till tomorrow. So thanks much.